As summer fades and the crisp air of autumn begins to settle in, the landscape transforms with rice fields standing ready for harvest. This season, with its early sunsets and cool evenings, always bring a sense of melancholy. The days of long summer warmth are behind us, and we are now moving into a quieter, more introspective time of the year. Do you have friends? It's a question that often lingers in my mind. For me, the heron that visits the river every day during my walks has become a silent companion. Strange as it may sound, I say good morning to it as if it were a friend, acknowledging its constant presence. In its stillness, the heron offers a quiet, unspoken companionship, a reminder that connection doesn't always have to come through words or gesture. Making real human friends in Japan, that is a different matter altogether. It is not an easy task, and I believe it is a challenge for anyone who moves to a new country, especially one as unique and culturally distinct as Japan. Relationships take time to build, and in the beginning, everything feels unfamiliar. You can't expect instant bonds, no matter how much you might want them. Building trust and connection is something that requires time and patience. Something that is not always easy, especially when you are in a new country and far away from home and surrounded by a culture that is quite different from your own. Let's take a walk around my house and let me share my story. The language barrier, of course, is a significant part of that challenge. While many people here speak English to some degree, truly communicating on a deeper level requires proficiency in Japanese. And beyond just learning the words, understanding the subtlety of expression, the cultural nuances, and the ways in which Japanese people communicate, both verbally and non-verbally, can take years. But once you do become fluent, you find that a whole new world of connection opens up. Then there is the cultural barrier, which can be just as difficult to navigate. In Japan, people are generally more reserved than what you might be used to in other countries. For example, not being sociable doesn't mean that someone doesn't like you. Quite the opposite. It often means they are just being considerate, as they don't want to intrude or make you uncomfortable. The Japanese way of thinking can be very different from what many foreigners are used to. A simple gesture like bringing you a dish they have made or sharing vegetables from their garden may be their way of expressing friendship. It's a quiet, understated kindness that sometimes feels difficult to understand at first, but once you recognize it, it becomes a beautiful and meaningful form of connection. Over the years, I have formed friendship with a few mothers of my son's friends. When our children were younger, we used to meet regularly at the park, at birthday parties, or just for casual get-togethers. Those times were filled with laughter, shared parenting stories, and the kind of bonding that happens naturally when your lives are intertwined in such a personal way. But as the years have passed and our children have grown and become independent, those meetings have become less frequent, only 2 or 3 times a year now. While the frequency of our meetings has diminished, I treasure the moments we still get to spend together, exchanging updates on our lives and reminiscing about the past. Those conversations are precious, and they remind me that even as time changes, some bonds can remain strong and meaningful. Making friends in Japan, while difficult, is not impossible. It just requires a different approach. I think the key is to find communities where you share a common interest or passion. Join a group that focuses on a shared hobby or cause, or volunteering in local events can be excellent ways to meet people. That's how I found my place, through my son. When our kids were young, I was welcomed into a group of mothers, and through these early connections, lasting friendships slowly developed. It wasn't immediate, but it was steady, and it grew over time as we shared our experiences and supported one another in our parenting journeys. Now that our children are older and more independent, the dynamic of our friendship has shifted. We all lead our own lives, and while we may not see each other often, the bonds we form are still there. When we do meet, it's always a joyful reunion, a time to catch up, to hear about each other's triumphs and struggles, and to enjoy the familiarity of each other's company. Those times are precious, and I hold them dear, knowing that these friendships have stood the test of time. As I reflect on my own experience, I realize that making friends in Japan, or anywhere for that matter, is a journey. It's not about the quantity of friends you have, but the quality of the relationship you build. Having a few real friends who understand and accept you for who you are is far more meaningful than having many acquaintances. The moments we spend with those few friends are what truly matter. They are the ones who walk beside us through life's ups and downs, even if we only see each other occasionally. We don't need to have many friends, just a few real friends are enough. And I believe that despite the challenges of making new connections in Japan, those authentic relationships can still be formed if we are open, patient, and willing to understand the culture and its people. Thank you very much for watching my video. Please subscribe.